Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Brothers Take podcast. I am Chris. I am joined once again by my brothers, Adam
Hello.
and Eric.
Hello.
And we are back in the room talking more The Last of Us, the show that keeps on giving. It gives us something to talk about every single week. And in this week's episode, we're going to be talking about episode 3 of The Last of Us, sharing all of our thoughts on the show so far and what we thought of this episode, which I believe it would be fair to say has diverted from the game the most out of the 3 episodes so far. And there has been some mixed reactions. However, hugely positive reactions to this episode in terms of other people's take on it. But you're not here for other people's take on it. You're here for our take on it. What did the brothers think of episode 3 of The Last of Us, one of the greatest games ever made, game of the year for 200 years, according to Eric. But of course, we're not just here to give our take. We like to hear your take too. So if you guys are watching this on YouTube, jump down in the comments to share your thoughts at any point on either on what we bring up or your own thoughts on the episode yourselves. And if you enjoyed this discussion, why not give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring that notification bell for all future content, including the other Last of Us episodes that we will be talking about in the following weeks. And to those of you who prefer to listen to us on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on everything we talk about here today. But without further ado, let's talk about Bill and Frank. Spoiler warning, by the way. Fucking spoiler warning. I should have said that. But anyway, we haven't talked about anything yet. So spoiler warning. If you haven't watched the episode yet, it's been a week now. And, by the time this is out, episode 4 is out. So there's always we're always playing catch up anyway. And so you should have caught up if you're following the show, I guess.
Even if you didn't watch it, you probably know what happened now because the internet has been unforgiving.
What do you mean? I haven't seen much except for just I've seen maybe it's just not in my radar, but I've seen Rotten Tomato scores and things like that, and then
Sure.
just gushing praise for the episode is all I've seen.
Yeah, even with
and
that,
that's all
I've seen some people kind of
A lot of praise for strawberries now after this episode.
yeah, you see what I mean? So there's a lot of they're kind of hinting at things and referencing things that happen in the episode while giving it praise. And it's just but I saw all that so we get it on the Monday, and I saw all that hit my feed the Monday morning.
Ooh, okay.
Of course, because in America they're seeing it on the Sunday, so
yeah, so
you're getting hints at it and stuff. Yeah. That's you got to be a bit careful, I guess, in terms of it is a shame that it's not hitting the world simultaneously.
Is
for
it a
that very
time difference
reason.
thing, or is it just because?
I think it
sure
has
it can't
something
be a
to do
time
with
difference
that, but
thing,
I
yeah.
also think it's it belongs to HBO Max, so I think
Yeah.
it's a case of look, HBO Max
They
has
just
to get it
wanna-
first
Yeah.
because Sky is available in the States, right?
Yeah.
And so you want some sort of incentive for it's you could watch this on Sky, but come watch it on our platform first.
No.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But we don't have that option because there is no HBO here, so we have to watch it through Sky or Now TV.
Because fuck us, right?
Well, look, it's just yeah. Why actually? Does anyone know why is? And this isn't just us. Anyone out there listening, do you have any idea why HBO is not available outside the States? Is there a reason for that?
I think it's
It's available in a few other countries, but it's not as widespread as Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon, Now TV, Hulu.
There's a couple of European countries that have it. I think it might actually be
Oh,
the
is there?
UK.
Really?
I think it might.
Why can't we get it?
Sure, we don't even have we don't even have an Amazon. Never mind.
Yeah, I think it's one that if it was here, I think I would subscribe to it.
At the moment, I probably wouldn't.
At the moment, you wouldn't. I mean, you're subscribing to something else to watch the show that it's on. Why?
No, I know. That's what I'm
Why
saying.
wouldn't
I can get it. I can get what I want anyway. I don't see.
I'd get more out of being subscribed to HBO Max though than to being subscribed to Now TV.
Pretty sure it's all the same stuff, really. There's nothing really that much different.
I don't think so, really.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think
Sure, what do they have?
all of the Warner Brothers movies.
Yeah, but you already have them like on Blu-ray.
and shows.
We're really sidetracked. We haven't even started talking about this episode.
Sorry.
What are we talking
Okay,
about?
sorry. What are we talking about? Okay, let's be frank. Let's talk about Bill and Frank and episode 3 of The Last of Us. What did you guys think?
I thought it was a very beautiful episode. It is a very beautiful episode. Okay.
Mhm.
So the praise there for how it's shot and directed and acted and all that sort of stuff. Is spot on. But the people who also are saying it's a filler episode are also spot on because it is just a filler episode.
Mm. I did see one tweet that someone said anyone who says this is a filler episode never watch anything ever again. You know, and I was like, whoa, dude. I was like, whoa, dude. Like, let them have their opinion. Like, it's just an opinion. Like, if you loved it, great. If it's your favorite episode of all time, cool, good for you. If someone else like wasn't crazy about it, then that's just their opinion. Like, that's okay. You know. But yes, I get your overall thoughts there, Eric. Adam, your overall.
I think this is going to be just me for every episode that I talk
going
about.
it wasn't the game though.
No, I don't mind so much even that. It's just that I liked it, but I didn't love it, and I think my reasoning, and I totally agree that it was actually a fantastic episode in terms of the story that they were telling. You can't really dispute that. It was a really beautiful story, but and I think it all comes back to what we were talking about last week, that we have limited time with this series. There's only 9 episodes apparently, and supposedly maybe that's like the twist. Maybe the twist is this isn't just the one game. Maybe season 2 actually is still, but it doesn't sound like that. It sounds as though part 1 is season 1. We still haven't, like, what's the heart of the story of The Last of Us? It's Joel and Ellie. And we still haven't gotten any real development with those characters. And we're 3 episodes in.
There's 6 episodes left.
And I really liked this episode, but it takes away from the core of the story, which is where I think people are referring to about the filler episode thing. I would, if this was, as we were kind of saying last week, just the summer period of the Last of Us game, then I'd be like, okay, give me more of this shit. This is actually gold.
Like, expand the hell out of this shit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. If we have more time, but we have limited time, so it's like, God, I'm really worried about whether or not they're going to do a good job actually establishing a relationship between this Joel and this Ellie, because I'm still not seeing the Joel and Ellie. I'm seeing this Joel and Ellie.
They finally got their clothes though.
Yeah, nice costume change.
Yeah, the episode.
And if we've learned from any video game adaptations, that's all that matters, isn't it?
That's all that matters.
They look like the characters.
Hey, you know what? No, they've gone. Fuck you. They've gone above and beyond in terms of video game adaptation. I would say. However, I'm torn on this episode. Let me tell you the truth, everyone. I'm gonna give you an honest take here.
Too, yeah.
I'm quite torn on this episode, and for a couple of reasons. One, you're 100% right, both of you. This is a beautiful, beautiful episode. It's a beautiful story, beautifully told, bittersweet, tragic, and in that regard, loved it. There's a story in here, a standalone story that is beautiful, and it works really well in sort of an anthology series, right? And I do get what people are saying when they're saying filler episode. It does not mean bad episode. That's not what they actually mean by that. Or at least I don't think it's what most people mean by that. What they mean, I think, is, well, the heart of the story is Joel and Ellie, and we spent no time with them in this episode, right? The other thing is, I think you could have your cake and eat it too.
And then get
what
infected.
I mean by that, and then get infected by that cake. Yeah, they reiterated that, and I was sitting with Ash, and she was like, yeah, really hammering that in, aren't they, Chris? And I was like, that motherfucker.
I have a comment on that.
I fucking hated that.
Oh, do you? I didn't mind it. Because at this point, it just felt like they're really just rubbing salt or flour on my wound, I guess. So
yeah.
Well, my issue with that bit of dialogue, was it now made those 2 prologue sequences in episode 1 and episode 2 redundant. Now there's no point in them because
Yeah,
Joel has
yeah.
now just told us.
Well,
So
the
it's like,
first one
right,
was
so
kind of
now-
like we're hinting at it. The second one is like, okay, we mean it, and the third one is like, well, if you haven't got it at this point,
Yeah.
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 But like they could have just had that dialogue with Joel and Ellie, and it's like this is what we think happened and grand. But that means the 4 minutes from episode 2 where they were explaining it, the 4 minutes from episode 1,
yeah.
they could have fucking got rid of and put it somewhere else.
I'll tell you why it didn't bother me this time around, just in this sequence, is because like it makes sense for Ellie to ask these questions, right? Like
Yeah,
it just makes sense for Ellie to ask things of an adult. Like, how did this happen? Why did that happen? But sure, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. Then how did anyone get into it just makes sense. And then he's kind of explaining it, but he's also like, will you stop asking questions? And I liked that scene. The reason what I meant by they could have their cake and eat it too, though, is that I think they could have done Bill's Town and told that story. Now, granted, you wouldn't get to do it all, in flashbacks because they were jumping around anyway. Because I'll tell you the feeling I had when I first jumped to Bill, which I loved. I loved his introduction, and I loved when everyone was left, and then he got out and the music played, and he was getting ready, and he had traps, and he watched the trap kill the infected. Like, I was like, oh, this is brilliant. But I figured it was all just set up, and then it was going to come back to Joel and Ellie getting there. And through a number of flashbacks, we would get the story of Frank and all that stuff. And I had actually the same feeling when playing The Last of Us Part 2. When you first change to Abby. And you go, oh, okay, so we're flashing back, and then we're going to get back to Ellie. And then it was like, oh, I really like this. This is like amazing. When am I going back to Ellie, though? And it just kept going and kept going. And I can't fault it. I think it's beautiful. The story with Lev and everything in The Last of Us 2 is amazing. Absolutely beautiful stuff. But I'm also like, but when are we getting back to that scene, though? Like, when's that? And it just kept going. And so I actually had that feeling watching this episode where I was like, okay, but when are we getting... Okay, wow, this flashback is going on quite a while. When are we getting back to when Joel gets to the town and springs the trap and goes upside down? And when are we doing that? Right? We're doing that, right? We are doing that? This is one thing I hoped for, whatever we're doing. They didn't do it. And I was like, oh man, that would have been one of the coolest shots in the show. I'm surprised you didn't do it. But I have like that, like, when you know the game so well and there's certain things you want to see that aren't there. But I then have to bear in mind I turned to Ash, who wouldn't know the game so much. And I was like, what do you think of that? She's like, that was beautiful. I loved that. It was probably my favorite episode so far. It's like, okay, fair enough, because you don't have the context of like Bill as I know Bill. I was waiting for Bill to show up with the machete and like grab Joel up, and I was waiting for that. Let's get on with it. I was waiting for that. But that didn't happen. So I suppose they just sort of went, well, what do Joel and Ellie need to do when they get to this town? They need to get a car and a battery and go. And they did.
Yeah.
So I guess that happened, right? But yeah I just I would have spent time with Bill and on flashbacks. So I would have told both stories.
Yeah,
I guess. But that's just me.
I don't necessarily think the episode is bad because there's not enough action, because I've seen that kind of criticism too, and I don't agree with that at all. But I do agree that because I'm still not seeing Joel and Ellie just yet,
right.
And that's a very different Bill. It is a different Bill. Like it's Bill. It's recognizably Bill, but it's a different Bill. I wanted to see that Bill interact with that Ellie. I've seen Ellie and Bill interact, but I haven't seen this Ellie and that Bill interact. And we're never going to get that. And I think, part of Joel and Ellie's relationship building is not just we get it in gameplay while we're kind of walking together, and she asks questions, and it's just the little dialogue between them. But it's that's boring TV, obviously. So where you build it then is in their interactions with other characters. It would be her being the smart arse with Bill, but then Bill shutting her down, and Joel saying, like, kind of being a little bit protective. Then you're kind of building the relationship out of how they interact with other people. So I when we get to Sam and Henry and stuff, how is this all gonna
I did think about that. I'm a little bit worried now about Sam and Henry.
Yeah.
Only because I suppose when I watched the first episode, I had no worries. I was like, oh, they're doing everything. I mean, they recreated the entire sequence with Sarah in the car. They actually you know what I mean?
That was
So I was
bang
like,
on,
cool.
yeah.
So all those like huge, iconic, memorable moments, which is why I felt. I mean, I would have put money on it after the first episode that we were getting the Joel upside down scene. I don't know, and I actually explained that, Ash, because I was like, again, I think it's a beautiful episode. I was a little bit disappointed because of my memories of the game, and I was going, oh, there's this great shot in the game where he ends up upside down, and there's a real panic to like undo the rope while he's trying to hold off infected, and like it's huge tension. It's one of the more like it's one of the scariest parts of the game. And it's like I was really looking forward to them recreating that. I think it would have made for great television. The time limit of it, and she was like, it's probably more fun to play than it is to watch, to be honest. I was like, I get you, but no. It's really good. I really wanted to see him do it and pull it off.
Yeah, because
yeah.
Because you still kind of watch it too. I mean, there's a little bit of gameplay there, but it's not.
Yeah, like it's not the most riveting gameplay at all. But there is huge tension in it. But I don't want to go on and on about that scene because it's just like one of those things though. I just thought I just wanted to see them recreate that. I actually just thought that from a camera perspective and everything would have actually been a great sequence. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised we didn't have Joel and Ellie avoiding traps going into the town, and I just feel like I'm conflicted because I'm like, this is a great episode, and in one way they expanded on something we never had in the game, but then on the other side they've completely missed something that was amazing in the game.
Yeah.
Which is the entire town. The skipped Bill's town.
Yeah.
Well,
essentially, even though they did Bill's town, it's really confusing.
That's one of the best moments in the game.
I love that sequence in the game.
I'd say there another element as to why they skipped Bill's town is so that they could get on with the story. Because we were talking about that last week. We were like, but like they're going to rush Bill's town if they're only doing it one episode.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably just went, right, if we just tell this really lovely story, that's a beautiful story. Brilliantly acted. I teared up. I'm not gonna lie, I did tear up.
It's absolutely beautiful, and I think Nick Offerman, was incredible. Like actually, like I was really surprised. Positively.
But I'd say they skipped that so that they didn't have people come out of it go, you rushed Bill's town. So they just told the story just to get around that.
Yeah, an element of that, I suppose.
So I thought when first watching what they're going to do was when Bill was on the table after he got shot, and Frank was patching him up, and it looked like Bill was going to die. One half of me was like, are they killing off Bill and swapping out Frank?
It's actually Frank.
It's Frank. That
would have been an interesting twist, right?
And then the other thing that came to my head, the other half of me was thinking, this is going to go to black, and it's going to go to present day. And then we're going to have to catch up with what happened after that gunshot. And we're going to find Frank, who's hung himself. Of things.
Well, it turned out that scene was pointless.
Yeah, it was.
It didn't lead to anything. It was an unnecessary scene.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a little bit of shooting, and maybe that was just, they were like, oh, we haven't had any. Not that I don't need action every episode or anything, but maybe they felt that, if you're checking in every week, there's been no action in this episode. It's been very heavily character driven, emotion driven. Maybe we need a bit of excitement. So I heard there is actually a 2-hour cut of this episode.
Yeah, I heard that too.
That they cut down, and that feels like a scene that's like oddly cut. Like there's more to that. But then I don't know why leave it in. It's weird.
Yeah, I kind of because when I was watching this episode, I really wasn't drawn into it at all. I was kind of confused the whole way. The first thing that threw me off was straight to the open sequence.
They didn't do the prologue either.
Prologue, and I'm like,
it really threw me off.
This is weird. Because then it's not that that this needs a prologue. It's just that the other two didn't. Then you had a formula that
I would argue that I'm still of the opinion the second episode did not need a prologue.
Sure. Okay. And so after this, then we get the unnecessary exposition then between Joel and Ellie. So I was confused by that too, because Ellie actually didn't need to ask that question. She's only asking that question because at that point she's the audience member, and they're really just telling the audience.
Oh yeah, no, I know from a writing perspective, yes.
And then we go in, and he puts his gun away, which he pretty much just got. So it's like, all right,
Why?
like,
Why do you?
there's only a couple of rounds left, and it's like, okay, that's better than nothing. And you're about to head to Bill, which we know has an armory. Might lend you a couple of bullets. It's worth a shot. Why leave your gun? So that confused me. Then we have Ellie. She stabs this infected in the head. Okay, so why didn't that alert infected to their location? What's the rules here for that? So I was just like, when I was watching it, I'm like,
they'll hint at that in the next episode, then they'll hammer it home in the following episode, and then there'll be a big exposition scene in the following episode that really tells you how that works.
I would reckon it's to do with you actually have to step on a vine, and it's the vine itself that awakens it.
I think Eric is right, but that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, in that second one though, that when its hand, that looked like its things came out of its hand into the,
because it landed on a vine.
Was it definitely a vine?
Yeah.
It landed on a vine, and then the oaks came out and attached to it. I don't know why fucking bother attached to it, but yeah, no, it landed on a vine and woke up all the rest. That's my issue.
I think that's pretty
advanced for a.
No, not that. It's just I think that's very, apart from like this Ellie. I never really saw Ellie doing something like that, which is, I'm just going to walk off and then go down here and then kind of stab this thing. Like, I know they're doing the whole moment of this is her moment to stab the thing in the head with the knife. That should have been episode 2 though when that happens.
I know.
And just based on what they've established, which, like, if you kill something it can alert, that's really careless. And she's been told that that's what can happen. I just think that's really careless. I would have done without that moment. I don't think it was necessary. So I'm I was watching this whole episode just like really confused by the decisions that were being made throughout.
Incredible prosthetics, I must say, though. On that,
incredible prosthetics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Incredible. Yeah,
and I think the Bill and Frank fell for each other too quickly. I was really thrown by that.
Yeah, it was quite quick. I didn't mind because I still thought we were in a flashback. And I thought it was good. And you know what? I feel like the story would have benefited from flashbacks.
Yeah.
Because what you do with flashbacks is you fill in the gaps of all the time that happens in between, you know?
Time goes by then, yeah.
They did it with Lost the whole time. Jin and Sun meet each other for the first time. Their hands touch. They look up at each other. We come back to the present day. You go back to another flashback. They're already married, you know? And you just fill in the blanks of, they must have went on countless dates and, you know, really got to know each other and fell in love and got, you know, like this, it does do that anyway. It jumps time, but sometimes that can be exhausting when it's in one linear fashion of, and now we're in this year. Now it's another 4 years later.
I just felt that
here we are now, you know.
Because I remember watching, when I was watching it, I was like, the strawberries moment, which is incredible.
Beautiful.
I think it should have happened earlier. And for me, that's the moment. That's the moment that they actually fall in love.
It's a beautiful scene, yeah.
Because, it's just an incredible connection. And whereas for me, the piano, that didn't work for me just because, like, this is day one, firstly.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy has been pointing a gun at you this whole day.
Yeah.
And you just kind of got up and, like, he's given you a meal, he's given you clothes. You just kind of got up and he was and started playing his piano. I just think you wouldn't react that way if this dude was pointing a gun at you all day. You'd want to establish some sort of trust beforehand. And so I think that whole, like, we need to get them together was rushed.
I honestly I get that the relationship was sincere, but at first, based on the way they were playing it, I didn't trust Frank at all. Like, this motherfucker. I didn't trust him. It came off to me like it's like, he's after seeing an opportunity here. There's a lovely house. There's great food. It's like, I'll just tell this guy what he wants to hear. I'll go to bed with him. I'll get to stay here. You know, I even said it to Ash. I was like, I don't know if I trust him, and she was like, nah, he's just. But then obviously we were wrong, and it turned into a beautiful relationship. And it's like, oh, they really do love each other, and wow, this is like it's beautiful, well told. But in the beginning, I suppose you're supposed to be skeptical, right? That's the world they're in. You're not supposed to trust anyone. But maybe Bill let his guard down too soon.
Yeah, I think so.
No, I don't think there was anything wrong with what Frank was doing. Because in the beginning, I do like that bit of flirtation and stuff like that. And even like you said, listen, when he's in bed with him and he's like, look, I'm not just going to do this and then go. So if we do this, will you let me stay for a few more days? I think at first he actually was just taking his opportunity to. I'm sure he liked him, but he was also like, look, I don't want to go out in the wild again. Like, this is actually safe. I could stay here. Tell him what he wants to hear. Maybe we could get along.
Yeah.
But I don't mind the way Frank goes on. It's Bill, I think, lets his guard down a little too quick.
Yeah, I kind of feel what would have, I suppose, worked for me maybe is to be a reason for Frank to have to stay. So let's say the trap did actually injure Frank.
And he's gonna mend him until he goes.
And it's like he feels that element of guilt because like Bill is like making it out like as if he's this doomsday prepper hard ass, but then there's actually this is a moment to introduce he has a bit of a soft spot, and it's true mending him. He gets to know him, and that's where they start to develop a relationship. Because as well as the world they live in, I just think you just wouldn't be as forward as they were.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways they could have gone about it. And again, that is not to say that what they wrote isn't great.
I think from there onwards, it's fucking amazing.
Yeah. Once they get past the kind of introducing of the characters.
Yeah.
Because even their little arguments and disputes, were really good.
I laughed. I think it was like 3 years later, and Frank bursts out of the door, and they're having an argument, talking about paint. And shit. I thought
he wants to paint the street. And when he was like, you think the government are Nazis? Like, the government are Nazis. Like, but they weren't then, though. Like there was moments there that I thought really worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just surprised. The more it went on, I was like, oh, this isn't a flashback. This is the episode.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I better buckle down and get ready for that.
I was also a bit thrown off. Because their wedding montage was incredible, like,
beautiful, and I love that piece of music. So good.
No, right? That's what
you don't like the music.
I love the music, but fuck me, is that being played to death? And
I know,
and this is The Last of Us. It's like you've got one of the greatest soundtracks in the world, and you've got like the dude who composed the original game. Why not write a new original piece of music for this then? I couldn't help but think back to like Shutter Island and fucking Arrival and
I know what you're saying.
Stranger Than Fiction, and I'm just like,
I have to say we might disagree on this then. Hey, I love The Last of Us, right?
Yeah.
And The Last of Us is a great team. One of the greatest soundtracks ever. That's fucking high. That's high praise. That's not.
There's
no
not
way.
a single moment in that game where that music doesn't fit it and really adds to the emotion or tension in the game.
Yeah, that's true. But like, I couldn't hum a single fucking melody other than the main theme.
Fair enough, but
it's there and it does exactly like it's as good as the Resident Evil 2 soundtrack.
Well, I just think the moment,
but I wouldn't go listen to it.
the with the giraffe, I think like that music.
Right, yeah, that's a beautiful moment.
I think could work really well.
Well, and also, I suppose hopefully they'll use it when they get there later. The sequence when Joel and Ellie are on the horse,
and Tommy's leading them. Yeah, that music's really good.
Yeah, that piece is great.
Yeah,
but okay, I get what you're saying.
They won't use it though. They'll actually write on.
I did think it was a
rhino or something at this point.
It is a beautiful piece of music though, in terms of it does sound like a requiem. Like it sounds like it's strangely romantic, but also it does sound like you're gonna die.
There's this.
Anyone else think that Frank looked like Jordan Peterson the more he got older?
Yes.
Yeah,
he
actually,
did.
I think I
Now
seen
that
a
you
comment
say
as well.
it,
Someone said it said that as well. It's like I love this
yeah,
episode,
actually,
except for the fact that Frank looks like Jordan Peterson.
yeah, that's true. Now that you say it, yeah.
I did point that
This
out
is
when I was
when he
watching
was
it.
doing the art and stuff.
Yeah, when he was
It's just
when he was
pretty much
sick,
the whole episode. As
basically.
the episode went on.
I loved seeing the canvas art that and when it got to that point where half of it was fucking amazing, and the other half he just wasn't able to do it anymore.
Mm.
I thought that was on the moments that kind of hit me the most in terms of this particular storyline. I was like, that is fucking heart wrenching. Like he is just struggling.
The end of that, then, maybe my memory's wrong, but was there a similar like letter that you came across in the game of a couple that did something similar to that, where they're like they locked themselves in their room, they weren't affected or anything like that, they just died off. Maybe I'm just remembering that incorrectly, but it almost seemed like that moment that they were combining or at least combining the spirit of a lot of those letters that you find into
it very well
Bill and
could
Frank.
be. Yeah, very well could be. It's so interesting. It's a very different version of these characters, obviously, because in the game, and I love that too. I love when Bill finds Frank, and he goes, "That's wore that stupid fucking shirt," and cuts him down and pretends he's fine about it, but he's really not. Like he's hurt, but he pretends to be like, "Yeah, whatever. That's what happens. Life is tough. It's shit,
think,
I used to care for someone."
Yeah, I think in that house you can find a letter off Frank.
Oh yeah, I know that one.
And then you can give that, give the letter to Frank or to Bill. I didn't know that until recently.
What?
Oh
yeah,
really?
I did not know you can give that letter to Bill. And Bill
and he's
has...
like, I think you should see this. And he's just like, "Oh, you didn't like me, huh? Son of a bitch."
yeah.
But I was also waiting for the whole episode for Frank to wear a silly ass shirt, and I don't think he wears a silly ass shirt for the whole episode.
Yeah.
Because it looked like it was a yellow Hawaiian shirt or something, like something that some stupid shirt that you'd wear and holidays.
It would have been a lovely moment with the way they're telling the story, but to like just hint at that moment is like, do you know the way Frank wanted to pick what they were going to wear for their wedding or something?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever shirt he wore, maybe under the suit, like, really, your last day, you want to wear that stupid fucking shirt? That it's just one of those things where it's like to break the tension of the awkwardness. That it's like one of those small little like relationship style bickers, But yeah, do you know we've had a lot of nitpicks of the last 3 episodes, and I wonder we should actually like are you enjoying the show? Because like people might feel like it's like, man, these people this show is like one of the highest rated shows out there at the moment. These guys
don't
seem
know.
To fucking hate it. Oh wow!
I don't know.
Okay.
So far I don't know if I would give this a second watch. And normally with shows that I'm really enjoying, it's like like Stranger Things. It's like I can't wait to watch that again. This I don't know. And it's not that it's like I kind of it was nicely written, but I actually didn't really feel anything through the episode. Because I'm kind of it's only because like I felt it really predictable in a lot of cases. So
I definitely did not. It threw me off absolutely because I was like, "But this is a flashback." No, it's not. This is Bill's not going to die. We're going to meet Bill. No, we're not.
I think I accepted quite early on in the episode that it was it was going to be only about them two.
Okay.
And then the end didn't surprise me once we saw it flash forward to Frank being sick.
Right.
It was very clear to me how this was going to go. So yeah, there's just too many things in it that I'm just like confused with and stuff like that. Like I don't believe that they would last there for the 20 years, and that fence is still fucking up. I think at this point it should have been the big galvanized fence that Joel was promising. It should be reinforced. I
think they do one shot of all the cars stacked on top of each other, which is obviously in Bill's town.
Yeah.
But yeah, a little bit more of that. The houses all looked pristine. I don't know how they kept every house looking pristine.
And I think that was one of the more interesting parts about Bill in the game was the way he used the infected as a kind of a security system.
Yeah.
We only got one infected in this game, technically two, but surrounding Bill, we only got one. So 20 years and not any. I mean, he's only 10 miles away from Boston, apparently. You know, you're quite close to a QZ, so I think he would have been rated more.
Do you know how I thought it was gonna go? Actually, once I accepted what it was, and then I got to a point where I kind of hoped it was gonna go that way, and then it didn't. And again, I'm not taking away from like the kind of beautiful and tragic love story here, but when he crushed the pills or whatever and put them into the drink for Frank.
Yep.
And Frank asked, "Will it be enough?" And Bill was like, "I actually thought he hadn't given him enough. He was going to put him asleep, and when he woke up, he was going to be chained, either by his hand or by his ankle." And Bill explaining, "I'm going to look after you. I can't let you go." And Frank pleading him to let him go, and Bill crying, "Oh, look, I'm going to get you some food. You're going to be okay. We're going to be okay."
Misery.
Basically, I actually thought that then that's how it would lead to the point where, like, when Joel and Ellie eventually get there, Frank has found a way. He got out and he hung himself. And we will get to that point where he resented Bill for keeping him alive. I was like, that could be fucking dark as fuck.
I know, but Jesus, but
it didn't go that way.
Like, fair play trying to, he could barely get into his chair. Never mind.
Oh no, I know, and like, but you know what? I wouldn't have even fucking cared about the logistics, to be honest, because I think
that's like, my problem is that I'm caring too much about the logistics as I'm watching these episodes.
You might be a little bit, but then there's nothing wrong with that. If that's the way you're thinking as you're watching it, then you can't help that.
And you know what? That's Naughty Dog's fault.
Really?
Yeah, it is Naughty Dog's fault because they had an entire documentary on the making of Last of Us called Grounded. And they set this whole thing up to be like, when they're doing something, they're asking questions like, how can that be done? They base it in kind of their reality. But I'm kind of like going like, well, why is that? And I don't think those fences would last that long without being torn down by at least someone. Yeah.
Eric, are you enjoying the show so far? Should ask you.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think it's good. It's a very well made show.
Yeah, I'm liking it. I don't think they've topped the first episode personally. I know a lot of people this will be their favorite episode. And look, for a lot of people, it's going to impact them in different ways too. Some people might even find the story relatable, like different aspects of the story relatable and things like that. But yeah, personally, I just thought the first episode not only was the most faithful so far, but and it's not just about that. It also the tension that it built on Outbreak Day, I just thought was like actually it had me gripped, in a way that television I feel should.
Because I do feel that with this episode, it's a very good episode. I cried, so it's a good sign I had an emotional connection.
Go on, Eric.
But baller. I do think though that it should have went to black, Bill bleeding, and them going forward. Back to Joel and Ellie entering the town, and now the town is more run down. You have the gates probably ripped down, which is how they get in so easily. There's a little bit more infected around. You can have that moment where maybe he goes into Bill and Frank's house to see if they're there. He doesn't see them. He goes out the back door. That's when he steps on the yoke. He goes upside down. More infected come. Or that is our first introduction to infected being in Bill's town. Shoot, Bill frees them, goes back. And then Joel can say to him, because that's then the second half of it then is Bill's town. So you had the first half to tell the love story. Second half now is to tell Bill's town. And when Joel says, we need a car, you can have that moment. Oh, Joel needs a car. Oh, yeah, why don't you just take all my food too while you're at it? And you can have that interaction. Because that interaction between Bill and Ellie was great in the game.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, I wanted to see Ellie use the handcuff to break off the pipe and try hit Bill with it,
Yeah, and then when he agrees to get the car, it's not a case of, oh, we go here. Oh no, there's nothing here. Let's go over there. It's like, yeah, I know exactly where to go. And it's a reluctance because he knows Frank has the car. It's reluctance to see Frank, and then he sees that Frank is bitten.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that there was a separation. You know that there's something happened there, but you don't. You can fill in the blanks, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like this story is not really unique to. It's a unique story. It is a unique story, but it's not unique to the Last of Us universe. Like, you could tell this story. This could be an amazing short story, short film
in and of itself,
and it could be based anywhere. You could have it in like the Wild West, and there's bandits that come and attack your town. There's like it could be literally anywhere, but there's nothing uniquely The Last of Us with this episode.
And I feel like this episode on its own is probably going to get some sort of award nominations and things like that later on down the line, in and of itself as a standalone piece. But as a result, it is kind of a standalone piece. Yeah. So again, I like, Jesus, I don't hate it or anything. I just
Well, you're kind of looking at it from you know when you listen to an album.
Yeah.
And you're listening to the album in its entirety, and there's one song on it, and it's like, you know what? That's the radio track, you know, and it's a good song, but it's just out of place on the rest of the record.
What?
I get what that means, right? So you have one song, and that's the song everyone's going to be singing, right? It's an awesome song. It's a really good song. It's a really well composed song.
Oh, sure, right. We're talking like specifically about like a metal record that has a pop song, are we? Because I would have thought
not specifically. It's just if you have an album that has a particular tone to it. Like, let's say you have even a grime album,
sure,
and then all of a sudden it's got its popular track is house music. You know, that's very weird in the middle of this grime album.
Or if I guess the only reason a concept album. And then there's one song on it that just manages to hit that 3 minute mark.
I guess the reason I'm getting I don't want to spend too long on this fucking metaphor, but the reason I get caught up on it is I would call every other episode the radio friendly song because it's like sticking to the structure. You know what I mean? This is the concept one. It doesn't have to be there. It doesn't actually, you know, but everyone kind of loves it for the beautiful concept that it is. But it's like, and everyone's like, oh, that was a standout track on the album. And it's like, yes, but it sounds nothing like the rest of the album.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of the other way.
Right.
I guess.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I suppose you could read that metaphor either way.
Either way, really.
They don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
But
is there anything else
here's what I would love from it, right? Because I really liked the episode, and I actually want more like that too. But it's all about the balance, right? It's like we have a limited number of episodes. I would have loved maybe if, if it was more seasons. If game one, you could make multiple seasons out of game one easily, and you could have more of that. Because is it Ish? Is that Ish? No, what's the name of the person in the sewers? What's their name?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I think it is Ish. It's something like that anyway. Yeah.
I want to see their episode.
I know what you're saying.
But that's going to take away from Joel and Ellie. There's
so
only 9
many
episodes, of those letters throughout.
Yeah.
Everyone in The Last of Us has an amazing story to tell. So I would maybe have done, season 1 is Joel and Ellie. And then you have a Tales from The Last of Us.
I was just about to say that. Yes, I agree 100%. And I'll tell you why. Because they've greenlit season 2, right?
Yeah.
And we know that they've said they're not going beyond the games, right? And people are like, oh, Last of Us Part 2 is like the next season, right? It's like, hold on a fucking second. Like, so how many years are they going to wait? Bella's too young.
Yeah.
So I would think then that means they are actually going to tell the story of the space between. So not tell The Last of Us Part 2 tell it in chronological order, but not in the way the game told it.
Yeah.
Do you get me? So like the whole like Joel and Ellie going to the museum and things like that. Like I think that's what you do with season 2.
Motherfucking dinosaur.
Yeah, because what I liked about it, because then you could do like if it was something like the Tales of the Last of Us, each episode's about different characters, but sprinkled throughout is Joel and Tess. You know, like that. The way
some of the characters that we know,
and maybe some of the other characters end up interacting. Like maybe we get Tommy
or Marlene.
They're interacting with different people. That's your bridge. That's your connection between them all. But we're getting more of those type of stories. It's just, I suppose the issue with this is like it's an incredible episode that's taken away from what it seems to be. Like I unless they pull it off, unless they really pull it off, but it has me worried about balancing that relationship between Joel and Ellie, because there's a lot to cover.
There is, and it has me a little bit worried. Like, will the ending land?
Yeah, that's it. That's the main
thing.
Or
will the ending feel like, for people who are just watching the show, will it just feel like, and?
Or are they going to have to throw in that little flashback of Sarah again at the very end, just to remind the audience?
I hope they don't do that.
Just to remind the audience, he has a connection with her.
Yeah, if the relationship is nailed throughout the season, you shouldn't need that. Yeah. If they play that scene, that will irk me. You know, that'll be like, it's like, no, you can't do that.
And at this stage,
we should just understand. We should be on the same page as Joel by the end of this.
At this stage, it's a bit 50-50 now, whether or not they include that.
Well, now it's a bit 50. Like, this one, in some ways, it's kind of exciting, right? Because now I felt like after watching the first one, I had a fair idea of exactly what was going to happen.
Right.
Which was the game. And now after watching this episode, I am like, it's like, will they do that or won't they do that? So now I have like, yes, I have some concerns and some trepidations, but I also have a level of excitement going into an episode, not knowing now what's actually going to happen. How is this going to play out? What are they going to do? I will say I've no worries about them pulling off great stuff, because they're doing that.
Yeah, the quality's there.
I just have worries about them pulling off the adaptation that I felt the first episode was setting up. If that makes sense. You know? But again, it hasn't, I mean, Jesus, this hasn't trailed anywhere near as far as, say, the fucking Resident Evil series, which was total dog shit, you know?
At least I'm watching this one.
Absolutely.
This is a very good show. It's a very well-made show. Our nitpicking is just stemming from the fact that
we love the game.
We love the game so much, and we know the game so much, so we're like, kind of. It's like even that they got that dialogue interaction at the end of this episode, where it was like, when Ellie was about to bring up Tess, and he says, "You don't bring up Tess," and he brings up, But
I like where they moved the scene. Actually, I thought that worked.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes and no. Yes, because I'm glad they kept the scene in.
Yes.
Right, and I suppose considering, you know, we weren't with Joel and Ellie, fair enough. I thought they were going to do it in the forest, to be honest.
Yeah, when they're walking, that should have been the conversation, not the bread.
Yes. The other thing was
fair.
The other thing is they've just walked 10 miles
and never brought it up.
And never brought it up, exactly. So that's where I'm like, glad you had it. Why'd you wait so long to bring that up?
I hear what you're saying. I suppose the impression I got from the episode was that Ellie already felt like she couldn't bring it up. Like, Joel is so cold and not really talking to her, and there's just a sense of fucking don't mention that. Like, you know, have you ever been with someone where there's something that you kind of want to ask about, but you're like, I absolutely am not close enough to this person to ask about that, so I'm not going to. But I would love if they brought it up, you know? So that's the sense I got. But by the end, where she's reading the letter and Tessa's name comes up then. So a different vehicle brought up the conversation.
Okay.
And then it was like, right, you don't talk about Tess. That's how this is going to go. And
I also like
what I say goes. And
how she got the handgun, I prefer in this than the game.
Oh, that she just took it?
That it was Frank's handgun, and then she found rather just the
where was the triangle though? I just
where's the crab walking?
Yeah, absolutely.
Rather than Joel finding up some random body in the middle of Pittsburgh, I prefer that.
Man, I fucking hope that they're gonna. I mean, I hope they're going to recreate the scene where some hunter is trying to put Joel's head on a fucking piece of broken glass.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
Ellie runs over with a brick or something. Like
that entire
I hope they're going to do
segment.
that.
Entire segment would be good.
We'll
It'd be
know.
tasty.
We'll know, I suppose. Anything else?
Would you be really pissed off though if next episode is Sam and Henry, just their story, and you just miss all of Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course I would. At that point, I would really be like, okay, when are Joel and Ellie going to be in The Last of Us?
Yeah.
That would be nice. And that is not to take away from Bill and Frank. I thought they were great characters, well written, well performed. But this is the story of Joel and Ellie. And this is like this is what I was saying about when I wanted The Last of Us to be a movie. If it was a movie, you have to focus on Joel and Ellie. You haven't got time to do anyone else's story. Now, yes, maybe that would be a bad thing too. Maybe it wouldn't be as fleshed out as they're able to flesh it out. But at the same time, it just creates focus. You have to trim off the fat and you have to stick to the actual story. What is the story of The Last of Us? Joel and Ellie.
Mm-hmm.
That is the story. So
I think I think this was said in the last episode. It'd be fine if there's about 12 or 13 episodes.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's because we have that knowledge of 9 episodes, and 9 episodes is game 1.
Yeah,
I did prefer the length of this one over episode 2. You know, I think
it didn't feel as rushed. Yeah, it's a better episode than episode 2. I think
is better. Yeah,
because like even the stuff I'm nitpicking at are not as illogical or insensical as to the things from episode 2.
Yeah,
I won't repeat them because if you want to know what they are, watch episode 2. I mentioned them probably 5 times in that episode.
Sure,
but yeah, so this one was definitely I thought it much more thought out. I didn't see the gunfire sequence in the street as totally pointless. I just saw that as a hint at people being bad.
Oh no, I think that needs to be there. Yeah.
I miss Bill's line. I don't think does he say it in the episode where he's like, I don't mind the infected. It's the normal people I can't stand.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. See, none of that was in it. Yeah.
That's it, because that line was in the trailer. The very the main trailer for Last was Part 1. That line is in it, and
it probably should have been what he said to. That should be like one. Yeah,
at the dinner with Joel and Tess.
No, the dinner with Frank. You see, I think the Frank and Bill, there needed to be more tension in the beginnings of that relationship, and it's like they had to be forced to be together and then fall in love. I think that was needed because this Bill is so different than the one in the game. He just wouldn't be as trusting as that, and he's a little bit, feistier.
Well, it's like, imagine if Joel automatically cared about Ellie and just started looking after her, and it wasn't, over the course of spending so many experiences with her, it just wouldn't work. Like, imagine if that's how the game went. Automatically, it's like, Ellie, I'll look after you. Like, it would just be that annoying kind of fetch quest that everyone was worried The Last of Us was going to be before they played it. You have to fall in love with the character, and it has to be through experience. That's how this shit works.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, Bill's Town is one of my favorite sequences in the entire game, and the fact that it's a hard one because people have been now like rewarded with this like incredible story. They don't know what they're missing. so if I go, oh man, fuck Bill's Town, that was a little bit disappointing, wasn't it? They're like, what? No, and I'm like, no, don't get me wrong. Like, what you saw was incredible. I agree with you, it was incredible. But you don't know what you're missing because Bill's Town in the game is also incredible, but it's totally different, So it's just I guess it creates a reason like why play the game. It is different from the show. Why watch the show? It is different from the game. They both exist now, I guess, and you will get.
But now
hopefully by the end of it, the same core story is there, but you will have different experiences along the way.
But I wonder if anyone who's watching the show for the first time has never played the game,
and
decides to jump into the game, will they now be disappointed when they get to Bill's Town? because it's like they never
So vastly different.
well, they never get to see Frank.
Well, it'll be interesting, because they'll be like, oh, here we go, Bill's Town. I fucking love this
Love
episode.
this bit.
And then when they're like, what the fuck is going on here? This place is
Yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah, when they get to the school and the bloater pops out, they're like, what the fuck is that thing?
Yeah, well, that's bullshit.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
That didn't happen in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Although, would it also slightly enhance the moment when Bill finally sees Frank? Because they're going to then be populated with
With
stuff...
what their relationship was.
in the
could
show.
have been. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It could go hand in hand that way. In one way, I imagine. I think
this is a fantastic episode. This is a brilliant decision. Actually,
no,
no,
but I think the sequence in which you experience these things, right? I actually think if you watch the show first and then play the game, you will have a better experience than if you play the game first and then watch the show. And again, that is actually not like a huge dig at the show. I just think that the game is better than the show so far. So if you watch the show and love the show, and then you get to play the game, which is even better. You know?
Yeah, but Bill and Frank's relationship is very different in the game, you see. So I think
yes, it is very
they
different.
They might be a bit annoyed
at that rendition.
Like, the relationship in the show is a much more beautiful relationship, and it's a relationship everyone I think would aspire to have.
Yeah,
the relationship in the game is a much more complicated one, and it's
and not a good one.
No, it's
like it's a toxic relationship.
Yeah, it's a toxic relationship.
Yeah.
So it's Yeah, I think they might be a little bit disappointed playing the game because they don't get to see the characters they love.
Yeah, and I get that, but and then I guess both relationships are interesting because the one that Bill and Frank have is like maybe like they could only have that relationship or based on the lives that they had, they were finally able to have this beautiful relationship when the world went to shit, you know, when everyone else was gone. Versus in the game, the kind of relationship they have is because that's the world of the Last of Us game where all relationships suck, everything is complicated, life is complicated, people are unpredictable and horrible and backstabbing each other, and you know what I mean. So both relationships I think are fascinating,
but one of them I think fits the world of Last of Us more, you see.
Yes, and the other one is maybe just like that hopeful, beautiful. I suppose Bill and Frank's relationship is that it's not, and I know this is a message in The Last of Us 2, isn't it? Like it's not all bad. There is hope.
Sure. What you got from 2?
I actually think that is the point of 2, even though regardless of how it made you feel, I think that's the intended point, is that there actually is a way back. There is hope. There can be happiness. Because they did have it for a while, right? Like Ellie had happiness. If she had left it alone, and sorry, we're getting into the last part now. But if she had just stayed with Dina, and let it go, she actually could have had happiness.
Same for Tommy. If Tommy had let it go, he would have been still Maria. You know,
should never get you know what she lost back, and I'm not going to say what that is because of further seasons and stuff. But yeah, like I think the message was that you can have happiness.
I don't know, because
don't have to continue down the cycle of violence.
That like the Ellie, I don't think could maintain happiness because
this is a rabbit hole
because of the death of her beloved kind of
person
at her
thing.
And the same with Tommy. Tommy can't have happiness because that's eaten. So it doesn't matter whether it doesn't matter whether they stay or go.
All of the characters.
That's
in
the message of Last of Us 2, in my opinion, is that fuck your happiness. This is a miserable world.
Wow.
Give us your fingers.
We'll take them too. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to talk about? In terms of episode 3 of The Last of Us. I feel like we've made our thoughts quite clear. Beautiful episode, but also would have liked a different episode. So it's kind of like a conflicting, weird feeling.
Yeah. It's the half of me is like, this is great. Introduction of Bill as the prepper. I was like, that's awesome. It's the best thing ever.
And
He was so good.
he was Nick Offerman was fantastic.
Oh yeah, the Gefferman's.
Yeah.
There is sometimes though when he starts to talk, I can't help but hear Ron from Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, no, he was both of them were so good. I thought.
Yeah.
Both of them really built that up really well. So half of me is like, this episode was amazing, and I enjoyed all of it. And then the other half of me went over going, I want Billstown though.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. Yeah, is there anything else that made you feel that way?
This has to be the feeling that people get when they've read a beloved book and then watch the movie adaptation, where they go, "What I got was fantastic, but it's not what was in the book." It has to be the same feeling, which I finally kind of get. I've never had that because literally every movie I've ever seen based on a book, I've usually seen the movie first. And then when I read the book, I can totally separate the two then as their own entities. But like if you've read a book and then you are so looking forward to them, like we've never had it with a video game before because they've never fucking adapted a video game.
No, I know, but like
So-
we kind of, I guess if you took let's say a video game remake of another video game and they make huge changes, that doesn't seem to make huge effects. Why is that?
What do you mean?
Well, like the Final Fantasy 7 remake. Fair.
Yeah.
Well,
The ending of that was controversial. A lot of people weren't.
Yeah, do you want me to spoil that one on this one now though? Like that's,
No, you're right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
That's different. That is different.
What? Well, then also when we were talking about the fact that if someone watched the show then goes to the video game, what would their reaction be? Right? And yes, we are compared to the fact that like reading the book and then going to see the movie or TV show, we're like, oh my god, finally, right? And we're nitpicking at it. I suppose some people might have with Billstown, that sort of reaction that I had to when the Nazgul show up to Bree in Lord of the Rings, where I was like,
Sure.
This is better in the movie.
Oh, sure.
I want the movie version.
You could feel that way, yeah. No, I think that's probably the best analogy actually. Like someone watches the show and goes plays the game is the same as like, watching the Lord of the Rings movies and then going reading the book. And you'll see like a lot of the stuff is very different. Some of the characters are very different. Sequences happen in different order. Different people say things. But in essence, the story is still there, right? So, like it'll be more interesting to see by the end of this season, do we feel... Again, we're only 3 episodes in. Yeah. I really wish we could binge it. I don't like this episode by a week thing.
Well, what's nice about the episode by week thing is that we're all kind of getting this at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Other people will be way ahead of us otherwise. And
I know.
Also, it gives us something to talk about each week. Now we're like, oh, jeez, what will we talk about next week? So we'll just talk about next episode.
Is there any series, whether it's a film franchise or a TV series, where you've felt similar with either an episode or a movie that's like that a standalone is great, but in the context of the entire franchise or series doesn't work, or at least is not as good? Have you ever experienced that before?
Let me think. I mean, probably.
Most likely.
Yeah, I would say so.
Wait, you just mean a franchise, or does the franchise have to be an adaptation of something?
No. Just in general. Like, have you ever watched something ever where
it's
you're
probably
like...
a couple of James Bond movies like that?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Where you go like standalone, that's fantastic, but wow, what a weird movie in this series. Or
I know they all have their James Bond.
But there's meant to be like a couple of superhero movies too, right? Where you're like, I mean, as a standalone movie, that's perfectly fine. Man, what a weird, wacky fucking film in this like continuity or whatever. Like, when is that going to be relevant?
Yeah. Like a good few of the I mean, we got over 10 years now of the MCU. There's a few of them where it's like, oh, that was a good watch, and then you kind of, but the context though, like that played fucking no role at all.
I suppose I quite felt that way watching Eternals actually, where I was like, I rather like this movie. I don't know why everyone hates it, and then I go, but I guess it feels weird because, like, what the fuck has this got to do with anything else in the MCU, right?
Yeah. I think another one would be Guardians 2. That's a fun, enjoyable movie, but actually, in the context of those 3 phases, it plays absolutely no role at all. It's only playing a role now because they're going to introduce Adam Warlock. But Other than that, it doesn't
Sure, yeah.
do anything.
I don't know. Have you ever had that feeling, Adam? I guess that episode in Lost where
Yeah, well, that
where
was
Nick,
that.
about Nikki and Paolo.
We were
But it's a
mentioning
beautiful,
that, weren't we? We were like,
it's a beautiful episode, but it has nothing to do with it.
yeah, I think that was we did reference that, didn't we? And
Yeah,
I think
we
so.
said
Yeah.
we were kind of hoping that we don't get an episode that's like that.
Yes, I think, and then it was the next episode, I guess.
Yeah. Obviously a way better episode, but than,
Oh,
than
100%,
that Lost
100%.
episode.
100%. Yeah.
But it does kind of make you feel like, I don't know, did everyone take a break or something? And
Yeah.
this is, you know,
Like, this is
maybe-
incredible. Did we have enough time for this diversion?
Did
though?
they only have 2 people on set because of COVID or something? Like, what's the crack?
I had that question. I was wondering, is there some decisions being made in this show due to COVID? I have no idea.
Could be. Yeah, could be.
I would like
largely
maybe-
produced during it, right? Largely
Mhm,
filmed during.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
maybe we should stop making predictions because every time we make predictions, it happens. Like, oh, it was the flower. Bullshit. Next episode, it's the flower. I hope they don't have a Nikki and Paolo episode. Next episode, it's a Nikki and Paolo episode. We just
Okay.
stop talking. Let's not. We don't know what 4 is. 4 is going to be about fucking kangaroos, some shit.
Stop, Eric. Stop. It might happen.
Cordyceps kangaroos.
Oh, how fucking freaky would that be?
Yeah, the kangaroo looks fine until it opens its pouch, and then the cordyceps just comes out like fucking something out of Resident Evil 4. That's actually terrifying. I'm gonna have nightmares.
Okay, just before we finish up, then I want to ask really quickly because, I mean, they're having a lot of fun with this TV show format. I want to know. I just want to know because this, I think, the success of this is going to be the path forward for most studios considering adapting a video game now. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to look at this and go, it worked so well as a show. Every time we try a fucking movie, it doesn't work. But I mean, they never actually tried a movie in this style. So anyway, I won't go on about that. So they've already announced that God of War is going to be a show. And in the last week now, they've also announced Tomb Raider is going to be adapted into a show. Right?
Yeah.
So
Like Amazon is working on
see
both
how
of them?
that all goes down the line. I think so. What I'm curious about, is there any other game property that you would actually like to see as a show instead of as a movie or anything else in terms of adaptation?
Actually,
This goes for you too, audience. Get in touch with us and let us know.
I think Mortal Kombat might not be too bad as a TV show.
Okay.
I feel like with that, you can sort of give every fan
you mean like
favorite
a
character
bigger budget and more focused version of like that YouTube series they did before?
Yeah, like you given each not exactly like actually stay true to the game, but it just gives everyone's fan favorite that spotlight moment because you have a TV show now. I'll be graphic as fork, but yeah,
You would get like a badass martial arts fight every episode though.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
That
Okay,
might be
so
one.
Eric's trying out Mortal Kombat. Adam, any games that you would actually like to see get a TV show adaptation?
Not really actually. Like anything that I would want to be a TV show, I don't think I'm gonna get anything out of it. Like I think Heavy Rain would make a good TV show, or games
100%.
like that. Maybe Until Dawn. But I don't think I'm gonna really get anything out of it while watching it. Horizon could work as a TV show,
Which I think they're talking about too.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they're talking about that.
Apart from that, no, I don't think anything else is necessarily worth adapting into a TV series. No, off the top of my
Interesting.
head, anyway.
No, it's you, Chris.
Yeah, well, I suppose most of the things that I would want to see adapted, I would actually want to see adapted into a movie. Like, I want a Metal Gear Solid movie,
Yeah,
not a
Metal Gear Solid would
show.
work as a film.
If Final Fantasy VII was ever to be adapted live action, I want a movie trilogy, Lord of the Rings style. That's what I like. I wouldn't want to. Even though you'd get more in with a show, I actually would prefer a big blockbuster movie trilogy, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the obvious one for me, 100%, is Mass Effect.
Yeah, I was just thinking that when you said Final Fantasy, I was like, why didn't I say fucking Mass Effect?
Of course,
Mass Effect
Eric.
as a TV show.
Mass Effect would
Oh
not
my God.
work as a movie.
The Andromeda one, obviously.
It would be fuck off. It would be a show. And the thing that would be interesting to me, I mean, there's so much great lore there to adapt, and there's fantastic characters. But the thing that would be interesting to me, or to I think the gamers as an audience, is what decisions are they gonna make with the show?
Mm-hmm.
So now they have to make a decision. Is it male ship or femme ship? Is it like renegade or paragon or a bit of a mix depending on the situation? What's their backstory? When it comes to those big pivotal decisions that happen in the game, what decisions are they going to make? Or are they going to make new decisions that we weren't able to make as gamers so that we see a totally different outcome in terms of like the genophage and all that stuff? So I mean, it's one that would just fucking work as a show. I mean, every mission you do is basically like an episode. And if you had a big proper budget, it's one that could be really, really pulled off, I think. Like if you gave a Mass Effect adaptation the fucking Rings of Power budget, I mean, it could be visually and prosthetically and everything, it could be fucking stunning.
I think that if done really well, that could give something like Star Trek and Star Wars a little bit of a run for its money.
100%. I think it could, if you gave it the right talent, it could be the best sci-fi TV show
in the modern age.
Yeah. Or space opera TV show, or whatever you want to call that. I know sci-fi gets a bit, people are confused what that means. Because it's like, well, Star Wars isn't a sci-fi. And then they go, what? I thought space was, I'm confused.
It's science fantasy, though, right?
Yeah.
It's science fantasy. And
Mass
Mass
Effect
Effect
more
is
like family drama opera.
Yes.
See, the opera part always throws me because every time people say opera, I'm just thinking, you got Luke
singing,
walking
right?
on the horizon, yeah, and he's like, and he just starts fucking opera at the Suns, but that never happens. So where's this opera?
I suppose they more mean like the story of an opera as opposed to the
contents.
as opposed to the medium of opera. Like they more mean like what were they? Because opera is actually always very. While the singing and all that is very complicated, operas are usually very simple. They're usually like family dramas and things like that, which is why soap opera is like, it's all like everyday kind of stuff and stuff that people can usually relate to.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'd love to hear from all you guys. What game do you think should be adapted into a TV series? What would you like to see? And how would you like to see it done as well? Like, in what way should it be adapted? And also, what were your thoughts on The Last of Us episode 3? If maybe it was your favorite episode, maybe you didn't like it, let us know all your thoughts. If you watch this YouTube, jump down in the comments to share your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this episode of The Brothers Take, want to give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring that notification bell for all our future episodes. We will be covering the rest of The Last of Us as well. Let us know if you're enjoying the show so far. What do you think of it? Have they nailed this? Have you not played the game maybe? And you're just, I hope we haven't talked too much about the future and ruined anything on you too much. But I think we've been vague. I think we've been vague, so hopefully we haven't ruined much on you. But yeah, let us know. Are you enjoying the show? What do you think of it? And if you guys listen to us on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on The Last of Us. Thank you very much again for checking out this week's episode. We will be back to talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye, dude. Oh, please be in it.
It's not going in it.
No, it's not.
Oh, it mightn't be.
Sad.
Oh.